It's not only a day after Donald Trump made the announcement that I referenced already, but it comes after abortion has turned in the favor of Democrats time and again at the ballot with, just a little over a half year left. This could play in favor of Democrats in an important swing state again.
Absolutely. And ironically, it's an issue that President Joe Biden feels sort of uncomfortable with. The statement from their campaign came from Vice President Kamala Harris. And yet, it is one of the things that could tip a close race over to him. And remember, he only carried Arizona by a few thousand votes, I believe. It was very, very close. But he carried it last time. And if they are successful in putting a ballot measure on the ballot in November in Arizona, codifying abortion rights, you will get massive Democratic turnout, and in a state that he carried barely before, and that could flip that very important swing state, even though it is ground zero for the immigration debate.
Well, and of course, the immigration debate is still raging in addition to the debate over reproductive rights. But on immigration, that, of course, was the real focus of the House impeachment of the Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas that happened earlier this year. Those articles were set to go to the Senate tomorrow, and that has now been delayed. We heard from Republican Senator John Thune of South Dakota on this entire effort on the Senate floor earlier today.
The House of Representatives has put forward serious charges along with evidence to support those charges. And it's not too much to ask that the Senate take this matter seriously and explore these charges before dismissing them. The Senate should have a full trial and take the time to examine whether Secretary Mayorkas' actions warrant a conviction. Then the Senate should be able to vote guilty or not guilty.
And Wendy, we did get a statement from a spokesperson for the House Speaker, Mike Johnson, that said to ensure the Senate has adequate time to perform its constitutional duty, the House will transmit the articles of impeachment to the Senate next week. The thing about it, though, is delivering it next week rather than this week isn't going to change the ultimate outcome of this thing dying on arrival, right?
Absolutely. I'm afraid Senator Thune is in for a bit of a disappointment here. The chances of a Democratic-led Senate convicting a member of the president's cabinet for any of the things they've accused him of, which are basically carrying out the policies that he could carry out, whether you agree with those or not. It wasn't a high crime or misdemeanor, not really impeachable, and the Senate is going to dismiss those as quickly as possible.
Just considering the optics of Alejandro Mayorkas on Capitol Hill this week to make the case for Joe Biden's DHS budget while this is happening says a lot about where we are, never mind the sort of lack of direction we're still facing here when it comes to funding for Ukraine. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin talked about the need to help Ukraine in his testimony on the Hill this morning. Here's his take.
Putin is betting that the United States will falter and abandon our friends and leave Ukraine in mortal danger. If the Kremlin prevails in Ukraine, it would embolden would-be aggressors around the globe. The United States would be far less secure if Putin got his way in Ukraine. And President Biden has warned that Putin will not stop at Ukraine. If America walked away, we would put the free world in peril and risk unimaginable cost and dangers.
Lloyd Austin isn't the only one making the case. Mike Pompeo is also doing the same for Republicans in the House. Are we in a moment of fluidity here where this might actually happen? I know the line is it's going to be weeks, but I feel like we're getting closer to actual legislation than we've been in a while.
I think we might be. I mean, it will take weeks. It always takes weeks with Congress. But I do think there's becoming a few more increasingly isolated members who are dead set against Ukraine aid. I think that not only most of the Democrats, most or if not all of the Democrats, and a great number of Republicans believe in Ukraine aid because of the very things that Lloyd Austin was saying. It emboldens Putin. It emboldens China. It emboldens other countries to just go marching around taking what land they want. And that's not something that the U.S. can stand by and watch.
Yeah.
All right, Bloomberg's Wendy Benjaminson, thank you so much. Of course, as we focus on the issues surrounding one U.S. ally, we turn to another ally. As President Biden welcomes Japan's prime minister to the White House today as the two countries look to strengthen their ties while the tension of the planned takeover of U.S. steel by Japanese Nippon Steel simmers in the background. Here's Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman late last year when that deal was announced.
I'm standing on the roof of my home right here in Braddock, Pennsylvania, right across the street from the Edgar Thompson plant. And I just have to say it's absolutely outrageous that they have sold themselves to a foreign nation and a company. Can't do that.
Bloomberg's Josh Wingrove is with us now. He has a new big take story out that is just published on the terminal and online. And the headline says it all, Josh. Japan's U.S. steel takeover creates election year firestorm. The thing is, Japan is a U.S. ally. This is not an adversary, which just speaks to how unusual this whole thing is and the politics around it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they just, it's not clear that they realized the mess that they were walking into with this bid. This story kind of sweeps together everything we've learned so far. The long and short of it, though, is I think some people might be prematurely thinking this thing is totally dead after Biden came out against it. This is a deal announced in December, $55 a share, quite a premium. So a lot of people were excited about it. But Senator Fetterman, followed by one of Biden's aides, Senator Casey as well from Pennsylvania, Senator Brown from Ohio, really came out against this. And that's because of the steel workers and the union jobs associated with them and the political clout of the steel workers. So the question has been, okay, well, what can change now? What will happen? Our reporting is that the problem facing this whole consideration right now is that every other option has problems. There's a reason U.S. Steel was doing a strategic review of itself. So there are some concerns as to if it remains independent, what the future will be both for the company and its union workers. Talk has turned to other companies that might buy it, but those have antitrust concerns that our sources have pointed to, and the auto sector, for one, has sort of warned against that, saying we don't want all the eggs of steel making in one basket domestically. So it's a good story. I hope everyone reads, everything we write, et cetera. But my colleague Joe Doe went to Pittsburgh, talked with both steel workers and just members of the community. It's hard to throw a stone in Pittsburgh and not hit someone whose grandfather or uncle or whoever worked for U.S. Steel or one of the many companies tied to it. And the focus there really is on jobs. And so what we're hearing is that there is a path for Nippon Steel here. The meetings so far with the union have not gone well. One that we recall had about 8 minutes of silence while they sat there reading an offer that they did not like, and it ended shortly after. This will all be in the background of this visit. But right now, the question for Nippon Steel is not, hey, Joe Biden is against this, you should pick up your toys and go home. It's more like all signs from opponents, some of whom have stepped back a bit off the ledge in their fervor against this deal, are that if the workers are on board, that's more important than the foreign ownership question, although other critics will tell you these are inextricably linked because foreign owners weaken bargaining powers, that kind of thing. So this deal is really swirling in the air. The invitation for Prime Minister Kishida came after the furor, whether erupted over all this. Whether it caused it is an open question right now. But I think
correlation, causation.
Right, exactly.
Well, so you've got both leaders in a room.
Yeah.
They're talking about strengthening our military alliance, U.S. investment in tech in Japan, the big announcement by Microsoft. Why isn't this on the agenda?
By design. They're talking about anything but steel. This is the elephant in the room, and they want to talk about the room. And so we'll see them talk about all that. They've got some announcements so far. Prime Minister Kishida later this week will speak to Congress, befitting sort of their status as an ally. They're rolling out the red carpet for him to tamp down some of the criticism. Interestingly, though, Kishida has really distanced himself from this controversy. If you read between the lines, one possibility is that he thinks Nippon Steel might have stepped in it a little bit, and he doesn't want any part of this mess. But needless to say, he's saying that this is a private company matter. Don't talk to me about it so much. So we're going to see the two leaders really downplay it. They'll almost surely get asked about it tomorrow. And so as traders are really watching this, right now it's at 25% below the offer price. So if you think this deal is going through, there's money to be made. But of course, this deal might not go through. No one knows what to think. They'll probably be asked about it tomorrow at the press conference. We'll be watching it closely. But our base expectation right now is that the CFIUS review will stretch past, for months, probably likely past the election. And that after that, we don't know. Another thing in our reporting is that there's some dispute over whether the U.S. government even can kill this deal if it wanted to. Joe Biden opposes it, but has stopped short of saying he wants to kill it.